Welcome back. This is Defender Fabrication. My name's Scott, and this is episode 24 of Have You Seen My Tool? Now, before we get to this episode's tool, I want to go over a couple of things. As some of you may know, the nature of my business has changed in the last couple of years and transitioned away from more race cars to more strictly manufacturing type stuff. And as a result of that, I find myself drilling and tapping more holes than I typically did before. More of a production type environment. So as part of that, you know, time is money, and I looked for ways to get those things done quicker. And as part of that, if you're familiar with another YouTube channel called 6061, one of the things that he came up with, one of his favorite tools, is this tapping press. And these are pretty much all made in the Orient today. You can find these that are made in USA. I don't think they're currently made here. If you do find one, it's going to be a used piece. And although 6061 listed this as one of his 10 favorite tools, I got to tell you, these things, in my opinion, are garbage. They are not well machined. It does help tapping. If this is your only option other than hand tapping, it's definitely an improvement, but it's definitely not a robust piece of equipment. And so that led me to continue my search for other things. Now, if you watch channels like NYC CNC or A-Bomb 79, you know both of those gentlemen both have tapping arms. But the tapping arms that they have are, you know, thousands and thousands of dollars, and really beyond reach of a shop like mine. Now, I just happened to be at an auction trying to buy a welder here several months ago, and something that wasn't listed on the auction, but they had on site, was another tapping arm. And it's made by a company called Viking Industries. I believe that that's just one name that you may find these sold under. They're manufactured primarily, it seems, in Taiwan, and come in two versions, a VT400 and a VT700. The numbers relating to the RPM of the drive motor. Let me get you resituated, and we'll take a look at what one of these look like. So what we're looking at here is the VT400 version of the Viking tapping arm. Like I said, I bought this at an auction. I was not real hopeful that it was going to work well enough. I had questioned some of its power and you know, claims on what size tap it could drive. Pleasantly, I have been impressed. This is the VT400, and like I said, there's a VT700, the difference being the RPM at which the motor is driven. I'm sure, well, I suspect that that has to do with the gear reduction. You know, obviously we know the output speed is different. I would say by virtue of a gear reduction, they're getting more torque. The 400, depending on where you look, is good for either a 7/16 or a half-inch tap, and the 700 is limited at 3/8. Now, tell you a quick story about buying this at the auction. These tapping arms go for somewhere in the neighborhood of just shy of $2,000. That's current as of 2020, and this one was set up in a plant where they were going out of business, and it also came with a set of the drive heads. Now, these drive heads have to be changed depending on the size of the tap, and you can have them set up ahead of time, just like this one. For different taps, and it's as easy as pulling that collar and then finding the locking position, and then now you're changed. Now you're set up for a different size tap. So let me show you quickly how these taps get changed by, there's a collar right here, and the tap won't come out, but if you shove that collar in, then the tap will come out. And to insert it, you just simply insert it and it's locked in. Kind of like a Chinese finger torture device. Anyway, these are extra. You don't get these when you buy a new one, although the where I bought this one, there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, one's in at 9. I got 9 of these, some are doubles. There is a difference in taps. Some taps are, I believe there is an ANSI standard for the shoulder of the tap, and then there is a different one. So you would want to be cautious on which ones you ordered. But anyway, during the auction, I thought that I was going to get this thing really cheap. Nobody bid against me. I don't think that the auctioneer, well, I know the auctioneer didn't even know what it was. He listed it as some kind of a drill press thing. So I had the bid at 30 bucks and thought I was really gonna, get a good deal. I did not want to go real high because I wasn't sure this thing was even gonna work for me. Could be money just, thrown in a hole. Well, somebody else evidently knew what it was, and they started bidding against me. And I ended up having to pay just shy of $200 with the buyer's premium. It ended up being $220, something of that nature, which is still not a bad deal, and I'm happy that I got it because it does work well. And speaking of work well, let's show you what the thing will do. I have got some pieces here that I make. These are made of 1-inch plate that I cut on the CNC plasma, and they get a 2 1/8-inch hole bored in them, and then they also get 2 holes drilled and tapped 3/8/16. So I've got 4 of these 2 holes a piece, and they are so 8 holes. Let's just see how quickly we can get through those, if the air compressor will hold up. This thing does use a lot of air, so you will need a decent compressor. And I'll also give you a little tip. I sometimes use squirt bottles of Tapmatic, and the problem is it's hard to get cutting fluid on the tap. So what I found is that just use a receptacle like you would use for a brush, and then you can simply dip the tap in there and then get it coated. And it works slicker and doesn't take nearly as long as having to take your hand away and grab a brush or a different ball or whatever. You just set this thing off to the side, dip it in, bam, tap, and off and going. So let me get the air hookup to this thing, and let's see how quickly we can tap 8 of these holes. There you go, just that easy. It sure does making tapping a lot of holes go a lot faster. Now I will mention that that was not a brand new tap. It was a used tap, and it was a gun style tap which drives the chips down through, and you can see here what the chips look like. And of course, you need the tap is going to pass through the hole, and of course you need to provide some clearance underneath. But that's what a gun tap looks like, and you should not use this with a typical hand style tap. Your other option besides a gun tap would be a spiral fluted tap, which would send the chips up through. which, you know, if it was a blind hole, then that might be a better bet. And I will also mention that these heads are have a clutch, and that it is adjustable. There is a spring around the outside. You pull that spring out, and that unlocks a ring in here that can be twisted with the correct spanner wrench. I don't have a spanner wrench. I've never had a problem. I've never broke a tap. I have read and saw some other instances where people have these, and they have broken taps, so you should be aware of that as well. Anyway, just wanted to show you this. I'm happy with it, even though it's you know, made overseas. But if you get an opportunity to pick one up like I did, definitely worthwhile. And even if you got to buy a new one, you know, I had thought that the ones like A-Bomb 79, Adam Booth, and John Saunders had, the price on those things is just crazy. Of course, some of those are, you know, they'll drive a much larger tap. And you know, if you need to do that, I'm sure that's going to save some time as well. You know, and they're like the one Adam Booth's got's hydraulically driven and not pneumatic. But this kind of fits the bill somewhere in between a hand tapper and what they've got. So anyway, hey, listen, if you like these videos, feel free to hit the like button and subscribe for more content. And if you got any questions, anything I didn't cover, please let me know, leave a comment, and I'll see you on the next episode of Have You Seen My Tool? Thanks for watching.